on today's segment, we are going to bring you all a Concacaf W Championship preview. Before we get into all that, another special announcement. On Friday, July 1st, Attacking Third, both Lisa and I will be outside the Bank of California Stadium from 4 o'clock to 7 p.m. local time for a Concacaf W event ahead of Angel City versus Portland Thorns. We'll be hosting a live show with special guests, giving away Attacking Third gear, and hosting trivia. So come hang out with us on Friday, July 1st from 4 to 7 Pacific time at Bank of California Stadium. I am so hyped for this. First time for me ever going to Bank of California Stadium, and hyped to be there with you, Lisa. And Lori, I hate that you're not going to be there.
Listen, I'll be cheering you on. I'm going to be tuning in. You all are going to have a blast. It's going to be awesome for you. And as we mentioned earlier, you're in a great area, Sandra. So you're going to live it up.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun out there. Of course, we're going to miss you, Lori, but I'm excited to do a live show. I mean, all of our shows are kind of live, but we never have people joining us live as well. Like we have the live chat, but this will be awesome to take questions from people that are there, answer their questions live and interact with people. I'm so exciid for that. It's about
time.
Get
into the chats and ask questions to you all live. So
yes, Lori, join the chat.
Oh my goodness.
It's gonna be in there.
It's gonna be fun. It's like you said, Lisa, it's like we do live, but that's virtual, and we're gonna be live amongst the people, and that's really nice too. And that's gonna be like a first for A3 as well. Like our first actual like in-person kind of live show is gonna be in LA. So I'm excited for that. It's a new step.
I'm ready for all the technical difficulties that I'm going to have to handle on the fly. I'm really excited for that.
Unbelievable. I can't wait to just start doing like improv at one point. Like just like it's like okay, it's like what do I do with my hands? Like, all right, cool. Like it's gonna be great. I can't wait for folks to see that happen.
Yeah, so if you're in California, come hang out with us.
come give just like moral support, quite frankly, that it just all goes well without a hitch or a hiccup. But we're going to be out there celebrating a number of things. Obviously, we're going to be there talking about Angel City versus Portland. But what we're really, really excited about, it's going to be a Concacaf W event. We're going to be chatting about the fact that right around the corner, there's going to be kickoff for what feels like we've been waiting for this forever. The Concacaf W Championship, the World Cup qualifying event for the Concacaf region. Everybody, you can catch all of the matches across CBS Sports and Paramount Plus. That is going to be your official home for this World Cup qualifying tournament. North America, Central America, and Caribbean Senior National Team Tournament, July 4th through the 18th. It's going to be hosted in Monterrey, Mexico. 8 teams competing in 2 groups. Qualifiers, not just for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. There's going to be 4 available World Cup slots, but it's also the qualifier for the 2024 Summer Olympics in France. There are going to be 2 guaranteed CONCACAF spots, and the top 2 teams of each group will qualify for the World Cup, and third place teams from both groups will advance to Interconfederation playoffs, and the winners of the W Championship will qualify for the Olympics and 2024 CONCACAF W Gold Cup, while the second and third place teams will advance to a CONCACAF Olympic play-in, which the U.S. is the 2-time defending champions, having won it in 2014 and 2018. So let's maybe pick apart some of these things here. I mean, we're talking about this as a World Cup qualifier event, but in terms of CONCACAF W and how they've maybe restructured things in terms of the competition, there's a number of things at play here within this July tournament. It's not just the World Cup. It's a spot in the Olympics. It's for a future tournament in the 2024 W Gold Cup. A lot of cool stuff in here. Lindsey is someone who's been in this moment before. What is these like extra layers gonna do for you as a competitor if you're like heading in and taking that first step into this tournament, knowing you're gonna be vying for a position in the World Cup, but there's these other added elements to it as well.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely are. And I think that's what we've kind of been talking about all along, in general, Attacking Third, and then U.S. Women's National Team Hour as well, just like the heightened awareness of all of that, right? And what the added pressure, especially, I think, when you're looking at the U.S. team and the expectations on the team in general. So then you head into a tournament like this, that's not only for the World Cup, but also Olympics that you mentioned. I mean, it's just more intense, right? And it's very different than just playing in friendlies. Knowing that the smallest details matter. What does that look like in the venues, right? The competition, which we'll get into, is that much tighter, and it's going to be tough. It is, quite frankly, and that's just talking for all teams, right? It's going to be tough. So, but yeah, as a competitor, is exciting. That's what you want to play for. But also, there is this added awareness of what exactly is at stake, for sure.
Yeah. And there's so many different factors that come into play with this, and a lot of them being off the field. Mexico has the upper hand, playing at home, playing in front of a home crowd every time they play. And for the Americans, of course, that's a bit of a disadvantage. They've historically played, especially their most recent friendlies, in front of largely American crowds. So it's a change of pace for all of these nations and going to Mexico, but it's also huge for Mexico as a country to be able to host this and to grow the sport as it doesn't need much growing in Mexico, but to be able to do this and host it, a big turnout from all the fans. This is huge. And a lot of these nations haven't made it to a World Cup yet. So there's a handful of them that are looking for their very first bid to a World Cup. And this is where it all starts, right? This is where the momentum comes from. The World Cup has opened up their qualifying to now have 4 teams from Concacaf go into the World Cup, which is bigger than before. There are more opportunities for these teams and these players. And this is the first step. And I can't believe it's here, right? Like, we've been talking about this for so long, and it all starts July 4th. That's when the first matches are, through the 18th, and that's when the finals come out. But these teams have already played qualifying, right? The United States and Canada, they had 2 buys, 2 teams that had buys throughout the qualifying tournament, and every team that won their group has made it to this stage. Costa Rica, Panama, Trinidad and Tobago, Mexico, Jamaica, Haiti. So these are teams that have already proven that they deserve to be at this point. But now the competition just gets even more intense.
Let me ask you this, Laura, because Lisa's completely right in terms of the competition getting, more elevated or more intense, because there's some expanded things within this qualifier. We talked about how it's not just for the World Cup, it's Olympics and the Gold Cup as well. But within this, there's also the fact that the expanded teams in the World Cup means that there's the possibility of more CONCACAF teams being represented in the 2023 World Cup. So we know for sure there's the opportunity for 4 CONCACAF teams to come out of this tournament in July, but there's a potential for there to be some real CONCACAF supremacy. Up to 6 teams could possibly be representing in this 2023 World Cup. Does something like that raise the intensity in that? Does it almost sort of feel like it's expanding, so maybe you can take your foot off the gas a little bit? I don't think that's necessarily true. I feel like that, like, knowing that it's expanded, knowing that there's going to be more spots essentially up for grabs to sort of solidify your place in the World Cup, that would make things even more intense.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think I agree 100% with that. I think everyone's coming in here knowing that the game has grown and is consistently growing, right? And there's players playing on a consistent level or consistently high level on a regular basis. In particular, Lisa mentioned about Mexico being the host, Liga MX Femenal, right? What that has done, there's just, the game is growing, right? And so, yeah, these teams are going to, these players, these teams are going to show up and be ready for that. Because if that, it means your smallest little opportunity to be able to get in and do something that you haven't done before, then that just elevates the competition. And it goes back to the details, right? Because I think a lot of these teams, even we saw with the US the other night, there hasn't been a ton of time for these teams to play together, and some of these teams aren't even playing in this window leading up to. They're just in camp, right? So how can they come together? How can they be a cohesive unit going into these games? But yeah, it is going to be a fight. It is going to be doing all that you can to give yourself the best, put yourself in the best position to get into that World Cup, no doubt.